Welcome to the Roundtable Free Speech Podcast. I am Comrade Crash, and this is my co-host,
Rick.
Sorry.
Power to the people.
Comrade Crash.
Yes, sir.
Do you know how to make a wet weather fire without using matches?
Wet wildfire being...
Like not during a downpour, but like a misty morning, the wood's wet.
Misty morning brunching?
But I mean, do you know how to make a wet weather fire?
No.
Might need to want to learn how to do that. Do you want to know how to do it?
Yeah, it'd be nice.
You want a through handle knife. That means you don't want it to be separate. You want it to be a solid piece of metal, blade on one end, wooden handle, or a hatchet will work. And what you do is you find limbs that are on the ground, and if you split those in two and then shave it with your knife, the middle of it's still dry, and that'll make kindling.
Okay.
But even then, you have to make a fire without a match or without a lighter. I mean, it's amazing how much technology we use that we don't know how to invent.
It's true.
We're just trained to use products.
Trained to use something that we didn't create ourselves.
Yeah, and we have no idea how it's... I don't know what's in this cell phone. I don't know how it works.
How do we create a rudimentary lathe?
I don't know. But there's a lot of things you got... Because one thing is for sure, everybody, doesn't matter if you're religious or different denominations or if you're atheist or agnostic, everybody agrees that this planet ends. We're not wondering if it ends. It's just a matter of when.
Of course.
We all know it's going to end. But there's also a lot of times something really bad happens to where civilization can be thriving and building and getting better, and all of a sudden it takes a real huge step back. Real fast step back. And then there's just not enough smart people left. There's a one time in the geological record, which I was listening to this guy talk, and he estimated that the human species got down to around 30,000 people.
At one point.
I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, I don't know where he got that number. You can find internet information that supports whatever you want to say.
Of course. And then anywhere online, you're going to find people that's going to agree with somebody.
Yes, and it can even be something asinine. But the thing we're going to talk about today...
There are a lot more flat earthers than you think there are.
Did you watch the documentary?
No, I didn't watch the documentary.
Oh my gosh.
Where's the curve?
Where is the
Holy
curve?
cow. It was so funny.
Go out to western Kansas, it's just there's nothing attaching there.
Anyway, it was funny. But one thing that is not wondered about are geomagnetic storms. The one I'm going to talk about is the most recent one. It's the Carrington Event.
What year did the Carrington Event happen?
1859.
1859.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Yeah, right before the Civil War. They had electronics then.
That's crazy.
They had electronics before they had a telegraph. That's an electronic.
And like people in the U.S. saw it.
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, like the auroras. If you want to pull up an aurora, seen these. I've never been far enough north to see these, but that's an aurora, and that's caused by particles hitting the atmosphere from the sun, and it makes those.
But how do we know that?
Oh, scientists say that. I don't know.
Scientists say that.
Yes.
And so we don't have no.
And your Uncle Gary says that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So.
But there's a way to prove that.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. There is. So these were seen as far south in the articles that I read as Jamaica.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
They never get that far south.
Yeah, of course.
And from South Carolina, this lady, it's an unnamed source, but she's talking. She lived during the Carrington Event, and she's talking about what she saw, and she said, "Quote." The eastern sky appeared a blood red. It seemed brightest exactly east, as though a full moon, or rather the sun, were about to rise. It extended almost to the zenith. The whole island was completely illuminated. Unquote. This is the middle of the night.
Really?
That this happened. And since it was from the east, religious people started freaking out. This is the return of Pryce. Repent now.
Especially with blood red.
Yeah. And she goes on to say, the sea reflected the phenomenon, and no one could look at it without thinking of the passage in the Bible which says, the sea was turned red to blood. The shells on the beach reflected the light, resembling coals of fire. How cool is that? The northern lights were seen all the way in Cuba and Jamaica. This is according to a Christopher Klein article.
Christopher Client.
He was the guy who wrote the article, so I thought I'd give him a fist bump there. But the thing about it is, the coronal mass ejection, we call it the Carrington Event, named after Richard Carrington. This is the eyewitness accounts of that event that happened in 1859.
So Richard Carrington documented the event.
He's the first one that noticed the solar flare. See, even back in those days, they had people that observed the sun. Now, you can't stare at the sun, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But what you can do is point something at the sun and look at a reflection of the sun, because then it's not the same.
That's what a telescope is.
And they saw, he saw the solar flare, and so he knew it was coming. All right, it's the largest on record, but us recording these aren't very long. Telegraphs would work without the batteries in them because
Really?
Yeah, see what it is
it gave them a charge.
Yes, it charged the atmosphere. Wow. And they started overheating. They propped out the batteries. The telegraphs would still work.
That's crazy.
Yeah, stuff was catching fire. Without batteries, they could transmit from Portland to Maine in 30 to 90 second intervals using only the auroral current.
That is
crazy. Just the atmospheric charge.
That is, yeah.
Holy cow. And you can go online and check this out. This is just
confirmed.
me paraphrasing a lot of it.
Of course. And
there's been other ones ahead of that. Now, the 1859, Richard Carrington got an event named after him. And I remember when me and your brothers were walking around, I asked them if they had ever heard of it, and they never had. So we're a species that walk around just oblivious to what's going on. And there's so many distractions.
And we're a civilized nation. I can't imagine just like the lack of knowledge an uncivilized nation would have.
Yeah, we're not a civilized nation. We're just well fed.
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
When goods don't cross borders, armies do.
We're a knowledgeable nation.
We are.
At least compared to other, like a tribe. I can't imagine it's like yeah, this is how the world works. It's like,
you know what? If this went on today, and if now here's the thing. According to Dr. Robert Schock, he says that the Younger Dryas Impact Event is not an impact event. The Younger Dryas Impact Event was when a glacier suddenly melted, and it was really, really, really bad.
Okay.
And extinct megafauna. That's when the mammoths, started dying out. The Clovis people were extinct after that. He says that it wasn't an impact event; that it was a Carrington event, and that
it's melted the ice super
because
quickly.
of lightning strikes. I find that very unlikely. Now,
that'd be a lot of lightning.
I've read a lot about it. Now, see, according to a geologist, several geologists, but I'm just going to say the ones that I know. According to Randall Carlson, he says that there was a 2 to 3 mile ice sheet that went almost down to the Ohio Valley, and that it instantaneously melted.
Really?
And that wrecked society. Now, whether there is Atlantis or it can be disproved or not, that it was wrecked. But Robert Schock says that this extinction, almost near extinction level event
could have happened due to a solar
coronal mass ejection. Okay. Yeah, and then, that's when the sun shoots out a solar flare, and it travels to the Earth in seconds, and the Earth is spinning, so the wave hits, and the Earth is rotating, and it's just charging everything that the Earth rotates around, charging the atmosphere, and lightning strikes that go everywhere, that take on the appearance of like the Pearl Jam 10 cover. The Pearl Jam 10 cover has a Styx figure holding his head up, and that they kind of look like that.
Like the LucasArts logo?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of like that.
All right.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But he says, that caused massive wildfire, and there is a ash layer in the Badlands, and there, when I say this, geologists say, it's not like I've done any of the research myself. I'm just reading what other people did, but they all agreed, everything that I read, there's a black line in the layers of soil, just like tree rings.
Only in the Badlands?
No.
Like you can go to the Grand Canyon and see this?
Yeah, like in North America, there's a continuous ash layer.
Okay.
And below that, there is megafauna fossils, and above that, there is not.
Okay.
So something really bad happened that killed off a lot of stuff instantaneously.
And forced the survivors to go away.
I can't imagine a scenario where lightning could melt 2 miles ice.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine that. For one, lightning is instantaneously hot, but it's not hot very long, and it goes away.
Yeah, people can survive lightning strikes.
I think that something hit that ice sheet But let's pull up those images of those drawings all around the world.
Yes, we can do that.
Now that is really, really cool. This is the one. Let's crop that sucker.
Here we go.
Now look at that.
The Navajo,
yeah,
really?
North American Indians. Armenia, which that's just a little bit north of Turkey. That's a Pacific island. New Mexico here in the States. Spain. China. The one in China, I'm not...
This kind of looks like the Blair Witch Project.
It does look like the Blair Witch Project. I don't even know where Tyrol is. I know where United Arab Emirates are. I don't know where Valmonica is, but I know where Tuscan is, where Tucson, Arizona is. But look at these images. They're all around the world from different species, from different cultures, separated by oceans and thousands of miles with no technology to transfer information, and yet they are eerily similar.
And they did. This is what geologists or not geologists, archaeologists believe a depiction of a solar flare in ancient times is.
Yes. Now what I'm looking at.
Or solar flare, a coronal mass injection. Sorry.
Yeah, because if you look at when the particles hit the atmosphere, the lightning would be really weird.
Okay.
And there's some images of what they'll look like, and they look like this. They look like these pictures.
Pull up the images that you're talking about.
Look, there's the 2 dots on the side. Now you saw the pictures, the stick figures. All of them had the 2 dots on the side. These are cave drawings. These
majority of them do have the 2 dots on every. Actually, no, it's in every single one.
Yeah.
These ones look more like lines, but yeah.
Look at that. On every single one, they were seeing something. Now, some scientists say they were seeing these lightning doing that because of positive and negative charges in the atmosphere, and it was just igniting, and it was looking like that. And so they were drawing what they were seeing, and they were living in caves. Now, they didn't start out living in caves, according to some scientists. They fled to the caves to escape the lightning. Or it might not even been a threat to them. It might have just been scary. Better get in the rock.
Like the fear of
But
God,
it would cause a wildfire. I mean, if there was
nature.
just lightning strikes everywhere, lightning causes fire, even today.
Yeah, that's true.
California, Colorado, wildfires caused by lightning. Even to this day, even with all of our technology to put
And
them out.
The Amazon.
And they'll burn hundreds and hundreds of acres. The Amazon doesn't hardly burn.
Oh,
Far too wet.
well, it was caught on fire recently, wasn't it? Like for a long time.
I don't know about that, but the Amazon's really hard to burn. That's a
true.
rainforest. So look, you have that. You have the 2. That is to me that's evidence.
Beyond coincidental.
No, yeah, it cannot be. That cannot happen.
Yeah.
That is not a coincidence. So everybody was seeing the same thing. So that means that a coronal mass ejection happened that predates civilization
In ancient times.
In ancient times, and everybody saw it all over like different continents. Wow,
It's crazy, isn't it?
Now I don't see anything there from Mexico. Unless Tyrol is from Mexico.
I mean, New Mexico was part of Mexico.
Let's see where Tyrol is first, so that way we can see if we can even get a better understanding.
Don't.
Let's search. Tyrol.
There are several. China, United Arab Emirates.
It's an Austrian state, so that's
Tucson, Arizona, Navajo. They all depict the squatting 2-dot man.
That's Southern Europe, almost the Middle East.
I tell you.
And that is Europe. Yeah, they added testicles.
Tyrol was in Europe?
Yes, it's in Austria.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Austria, good day, mate. Sorry, not Australia, Austria.
Austria, that's all right.
How about we put some shrimp on the bobby? No one seen Dumb and Dumber but me?
I've seen it.
No.
You remember that?
No, I don't.
And he goes,
remember.
oh, yeah, Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey sticks his head out the window. And he goes, where are you from? And she goes, Austria. And he goes, Austria? Good day, mate. Like such an idiot.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Mm.
But now, in recent times, check this out. You know, the Carrington Event took place in 1859. We're seeing images. Now, I want to point out something here, too. The Carrington Event, no one reported seeing anything like these pictures.
Really?
No. Not in anything that I read.
Maybe it was a larger coronal mass injection?
Yes, that's what Robert Schoch says. But we have Assyrian records and Babylonian records of them describing some kind of event in the heavens, and they don't have words to describe it. I have a couple of notes here. Blah, 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 blah. The Assyrian And the Assyrians and the Babylonians were enemies. They reported red skies, red clouds that covered the sky. That's something. A team of scientists. Is talking. A team of scientists in Japan. They were talking about our dependence on technology. I can't remember the last time I didn't use Google Maps.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
I remember growing up and us going to Sonora City, and you telling me, like, Chuck, sometimes you just don't have a map.
Yeah.
Now I have a map all the time.
Yeah, but you might not.
No, that's true.
And that's something. 2,700 years ago, a huge solar storm documented in ancient Assyrian tablets. 3 storms correspond to tree ring data.
Tree ring data. So, like, from cutting down a
tree. From old trees, okay. Yeah. From old trees that they know how old the tree are. They can count back the years. There's tree ring data. That means there was a fire. This is in a Newsweek Tech Science article by Hannah Osborne that I read that. So they used the eyewitness accounts from Assyrian tablets and tree ring data to cross-examine it about, because the particles in the air, I'm not sure, are absorbed into the trees, or there was a fire and there was an ash ring there. Okay. Yeah. A team of scientists led by Higashi Hakawa from Osaka University in Japan was talking about how significant a threat a coronal mass ejection is because of our increasing reliance on tech. Yeah. That is something. I'm telling you what. Now, there's another one. Daniel Baker, University of Colorado's Laboratory for Atmospheric and Physics, he said, we live in a cyber cocoon. Enveloping the Earth, imagine what the consequences might be. Talking about a coronal mass ejection. Well, there was a Halloween storm of 2003 that had power outages in Sweden. That was because of a solar flare.
Really?
2003.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Isn't that something? Now, there was this other guy on here, Peter Pryce, and when I looked him up, I don't know about him. I mean, he studies existential risk, so when you have a hammer, everything starts looking like nails. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when you're examining high risks, everything's scary.
Yes.
Is what you're saying? Mm. Okay.
And I looked up other stuff he talked about, and he tended to freak out about everything. But conservative estimates of damage from a small storm, a small coronal mass ejection, $1.8 trillion. Peter Pryce.
That's the estimation of damages.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Peter Pryce warns of an existential risk that could harm people due to starvation. He addressed. You can go online and watch it. I watched him address Congress.
This is recent?
I don't remember. I didn't write down when it was.
Okay.
But you can go just search Peter Pryce addresses Congress and it comes up.
About coronal mass ejection.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. And Peter Pryce is the executive director of Task Force of National Homeland Security. So everything looks like nails.
Yeah.
Oh, this is going to be what we got to guard against.
This is dangerous. Hey, we need to throw government money at this.
But check this out. This is an amazing thing. I believe there's elitists. And I believe that lower people like myself are looked at as serfs. But there's what used to be called preppers, and everyone used to make fun of preppers and stuff like that.
Like Earl Bassett from Tremors?
Yeah. Okay. Everyone makes fun of guys like that. High-end bunkers, the sales grew 700%.
After he addressed Congress?
No.
Oh.
High-end bunkers grew 700% from 2015 to 2016. They have air filtration, water filtration, a year's worth of food, and hydroponic gardens that can grow food on the inside.
Able to, like a greenhouse in a bunker. Okay.
Bill Gates is rumored to have a bunker on all of his properties. I don't know if that's true or not. That was a rumor.
Why from 2015 to 2017?
Uh-huh.
Why?
Because that's just when the report was issued. They have to date it when,
I thought there was a reason why people were buying bunkers.
Yeah, so, my point is in reading that is they know something we don't. Rich people know something we don't. There's a reason why rich people were not buying bunkers, and now all of a sudden they are. Bunkers. So, those old missile silos that are empty now because of, arms deals and stuff like that, there's not nuclear missiles in them anymore. people have turned those into bunkers. I watched a YouTube video of a guy. They were building them. And he goes, well, the guy who was interviewing, he goes, hey, I'd like to buy one of these. And he goes, no, these are all sold. That's why I'm building them.
That's crazy.
It was like $2 million a piece.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Holy cow. Yeah, and you know, is it to guard against geomagnetic storms? No, we're not a civilized society.
I think for the most...
Excuse me.
I understand where you're coming from, but like... I think for
we're
the
a
most
catastrophe away from being uncivilized.
It's true. The fact that, like, just looking at today's riots, is like how fast...
Yes.
How fast people are willing to harm the
and they're not even hungry. They immediately took advantage of something that needed to be addressed, and people within the protest took advantage and started robbing and looting. Mm-hmm. Joplin tornado. You guys were alive for that. A huge tornado, 2 miles of damage all the way across town. Joplin, as we know it, ceased to exist.
It's so terrible that people in Canada is like, you live next to Joplin, Missouri? It's like, yeah. And it's like, wasn't there a huge tornado a few years ago? He's like, yeah, it wiped out like half the city.
Yeah, my uncle had property damaged in that, and when he went to go check in his properties, they was already looters.
That's crazy. Like the day after?
No, the day of.
The tornado.
Yes, the tornado left like 2 hours later. My uncle went to go check on his properties, and there were guys on the roof ripping out copper. And what was even worse is they weren't even from Joplin. It was people that were following the storm in another state.
Really?
And they came up here just to loot. Wow. Yes. Now there's things that you need to do. Way back, we're talking about the reason we were talking about when I asked you, do you know how to make a wet weather fire? Do you have rudimentary construction skills to make a shelter? Yeah. Do you know how to make bricks?
If an apocalyptic event were to happen, how many people have skills that would help them survive?
Sustain them until it recorrected itself. So, like, if this hit, the grid goes down. Ricky, grid. There is no power, there is no internet. Now, I would imagine anything made by Elon Musk, I bet you anything is shielded.
I also imagine that there are contingencies. The powers that be in the United States have contingencies for things like that to happen.
Like the COVID contingencies? Do they, though?
We don't know.
We don't know. I do know this much. Those transformers out there on the pole, they are not shielded.
Yeah, they're gone.
And they are on wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those big ones in
And
Joplin.
how many of them have tree limbs? You drive around here?
That's true.
How many have tree limbs growing right in them? They ignite.
Now, those big metal ones in Joplin, are those protected?
Oh, I don't know which ones are protected and which ones are not.
Okay.
But a coronal mass ejection, the cell phone's not going to work.
Yeah, of course.
Now check this out.
If the generators outside of the telephone poles were encased in iron, excuse me, or surrounded by iron, would it be protected from a coronal mass ejection? Do you know?
Oh, I don't know what shields it from it.
Okay.
I really don't know. Hold on.
If something's surrounded by iron and an EMP goes off, doesn't it protect it from being overcharged?
Iron?
Yes.
I don't know.
I thought iron did.
Look it up. You're a computer guy. 2011, a solar flare disrupted GPS communication and long distance flights. In 2011.
This is from. Sorry, say it again.
In 2011, solar disruptions disrupted radio and GPS communication. So radio and GPS communication was disrupted on long distance airplane flights.
Across the globe or in a specific location?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah. See, there's 3 phases of them. First, high energy sunlight, mostly X-rays. Ultraviolet light then arrives. It ionizes the Earth's upper atmosphere. Then the radiation storm. And that's what a CME is, coronal mass ejection. And Ricky, the cell phones won't work. I'm serious. Like, if this was to hit now, okay, say like it hits North America, we can't see what our enemies do.
That's true.
Now we have submarines and stuff everywhere, which no way they're going to be hurt. So but if the satellite, because the messages are bounced off satellites and triangulate the Earth, all this stuff, and you might be off. Now I think about people on medications. My parents, my in-laws, they're on a lot of medications. Trucks immediately stop moving. Think about what happens if a coronal mass ejection hits the Earth now. What if it's a really big one? You don't think we have enemies? You don't think people will immediately start looting? You don't think there's people that just live paycheck to paycheck? It is a good idea to have at least 6 months worth of food.
It's true.
It is a good idea.
Of unperishable.
It is a good idea to have firearms. You know, it is a good idea for every adult in the house. You want to have a firearm. You know, it is a good idea to know how to make weather fire. It's a good idea to know how to make bricks. What if there's a massive wildfire? What if the transformers just start blowing and everything burns? You can't even excuse me. Nothing works. Everything is based on electricity and computer now. Used to water wells were gravity. You know, they'd have the big water tower, and that would be full of water, and it would fill down, and it would falter into smaller pipes, and
that's all a water tower did. Really?
Yeah.
I did not.
That's
know
how they
that.
work. It was just all based on gravity. Now they have pumps. That's why we have such good pressure. Yeah, and so the pumps go out. The meters, you know, and everything like that. I don't know that the meters are electric or anything. I don't know that much about that. But I do know GPS will stop. There'll be no cell phones. I can't believe how much we use our cell phones at work. The other day at the machine shop.
Excuse me, our editor-in-chief, Mrs. Seitz, has information about what protects from EMP.
People have asked us a lot, apparently, on Google. It says, how can we protect ourselves from solar flares? The best way to protect yourself from a solar flare is to put your electronic devices in a metal box lined with cardboard or a cardboard box wrapper with aluminum
What kind of
foil.
metal?
In addition to this, you can protect your devices also with specialized tools like Faraday cages and EMP-proof fabric.
What's EMP-proof fabric?
Why do we not have any?
We need we definitely need
We could wrap our house in EMP-proof fabric.
I don't think that's how it works. You'd have to have a lot.
What?
Imagine you have to have a lot. I imagine it's iron.
Well, you had to cover a house.
Yeah. I imagine the metal boxes they're talking about are iron. Aren't fire safe lockers?
Paper thin and practically weightless, the EMP Cloth is made out of 23% copper plus 27% nickel plus 50% polyester. At 15 feet long by 3.5 feet wide, is designed to fully cover any type of home generator, including diesel, solar, gasoline, propane, and virtually any other type of generator.
Do you think we've been had? I mean, you know
what? We have to do research into that.
How easy would it be to say this protects?
Yeah, like in the Wild West era, miracle water. Drink it, cures that bronchitis you got there.
Yeah, like the outlaw Josie Wales, the carpetbagger. He's always selling this miracle elixir, and it shows these guys that get around him, and he's like, "That stuff killed her uncle," and he's like, "Oh my gosh!" As soon as I heard, I quit selling it. And they rip open his jacket, and he's got a bottle of it, and he goes, "With the exception of that bottle." But I mean, how do you know if it shields from a coronal mass ejection until we have a coronal mass ejection?
EMP-proof beanies.
What?
Yeah.
To protect yourself from what?
From the solar flares. I don't know.
Like a hat?
Yeah, like a proof beanie. Yeah.
Interesting. we have to commit research into
Blocks
that.
99% of wireless radiation.
What?
What in the world? From what?
Wireless radiation.
The radiation's getting in my brain.
The 5G towers are sending signals into our brain from the government.
That explains why the young boys are getting boobs.
And machine wash bowl.
Machine wash bowl is important.
Yeah.
We'll have to put one of those.
It can't protect against detergent, but it can stop an EMP. That's.
Hold up. The EMP beanie is meant to protect from EMP. Is machine washable?
Yes.
Why would we care? It's a beanie. If the EMP, the washer's out.
Yeah, I think you wear it all the time.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
EMP and lightning protection for vehicles. They have stuff for that too.
Interesting.
Now you will need it on your vehicle. Anything like a points-based distributor will be fine.
Well, if a car battery is disconnected from the car and a coronal mass injection happens, the battery still.
I don't know. I know you want a standard. That way you can dump the clutch.
Yeah.
The Ranger.
Let's get back on topic.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
That was really cool, though.
Editor-in-chief, Mrs. Seitz.
Don't you think that that's probably bullshit?
Yeah. I don't know. You can't trust ads online. You have to commit research.
EMP Cloth, practically wager. I was like, oh my gosh, here's a big giant coronal mass ejection that's going through our entire galaxy. I'll put this cloth over my phone.
Here, I'll protect my head with this beanie.
That seems a little out there to me.
It does.
I don't know.
That seems like.
Why aren't the rich people just buying that shit?
that seems like some hippie in California would buy.
Far out.
Yeah, gotta protect from these 5G towers.
But anyway, if I was to think, now, we have here's one from, 2,700 years ago. That's before Jesus. Okay? Before Common Era. We have the Carrington Event that we can go by. We have the 2011 one I told you one. These are all coronal mass ejections. These are all solar flares that are interfering with our technology here. But if it's a big one like Robert Schoch talks about, and if you ever want to check this out, I don't remember what JRE podcast it is, but it's like
Joe Rogan Experience?
Yeah, it's like 1,243 or something like that.
Oh my goodness.
But anyway, Joe Rogan on his podcast, you never know what kind of guest he's going to have on there.
Oh no.
But there's this guy on there, his name's Robert Schoch. Schoch. Robert Schoch.
Okay.
And anyway, that guy, he talks about coronal mass ejections. He equates it to everything. Almost to the point of like that one movie where the number 23 or number 27, where he starts seeing the number
Jim
27
Carrey?
yeah. He starts seeing the number 27. Like Robert Schoch starts saying that coronal mass ejections what ended the construction of the era of the Sphinx. He starts saying that's what caused a solar-induced dark age. He even has his own abbreviation for it. SIDA is what he calls it. Solar-induced dark age. And he could be right. I mean, he's certainly smarter than me and more qualified to talk about this stuff than I am. But I want to draw attention to it, though, because to me, I look at how old I am and what I know how to do. I do know how to garden. I do know how to process meat. When I started listening to these different guys and getting into these different podcasts, Dan Carlin's got one called The End Is Always Near.
Dan Carlin's great.
Dan Carlin's my very favorite podcaster.
Amazing.
Ever. I mean, no kidding.
Very, very intellectual.
But he's got a book, and you can get it on Audible. It's called The End Is Always Near, and he talks about different plagues and different things like that can take a great civilization and make it go backwards.
Like the Black Plague.
Yeah, or like the Roman Empire did just because of infighting.
Yeah, Nero really didn't help.
Yeah, there's been all kinds of things, but the Justinian plague, the Black Plague that went on there, and then, there's all kinds of things. If a significant thing happens like a Carrington event, when medicine stopped moving, all the hospitals now, there's no paper charts.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, there's no paper charts in a hospital anymore. It is all digital. Everything's digital. Mm-hmm. I mean, we are completely... Actually, it could be wasted.
Hospitals do have paper charts. Mm-hmm. They just don't... After so many years, they have to get rid of them to make space.
Yeah, it's something.
10 years?
Mm-hmm. Wow, yeah, you would know.
Yep.
But this thing about it is there's lots of things... Now, I don't buy this solar-induced dark age. I looked really deep into it.
That's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, to me that is a really, 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 really stretch. To me, a massive volcano could cause more damage than what he's talking about. Now, it would say like the entire North American continent caught on fire. It's going to put smoke and particulate matter in the air, and that's going to stop ultraviolet rays, and that's going to stop photosynthesis, which means plants are going to stop growing. So there'll be crop failures. Climate change can be because of that. If there's a giant massive volcano, there'll be crop failure thousands of miles away.
Megacolossal eruption. Yeah. If ash is shot high enough into the atmosphere.
Yeah, particulate matter. Mm-hmm. So many parts per million will block out
the sun's rays from being able to feed.
And
our
crops will fail. Now there's been to me, I think we have the ability to grow food in greenhouses and stuff
thank
like
God.
that.
Yeah, thank God for technology.
But if a massive volcano or a super volcano erupt, we couldn't grow enough to feed 7 billion people. Like if something like the Carrington event happened, if it didn't cause mass casualties, which I believe it would. I believe it would cause massive wildfires. I believe it would cause mass casualties. I also believe that the panic among the civilians would cause mass casualties.
Do you think it would set people on fire?
Yeah.
Really?
If one like Robert Schoch was talking about,
That'd be crazy. Spontaneous combustion.
Oh, it wouldn't be spontaneous. It'd be lightning.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So that would be something. I don't tend to think. I'm not a doom and gloomer. Now, the thing about this is the chances of this happening good, I don't know. I know it happened in 1859.
At the very least.
You know, enough to fry. Now, back then, the technology was the eastern seaboard was attached to London. You could, as fast as you could send a telegraph, it was coming out on the other side.
Oh, wow. Crazy.
Okay, now let's take that. Primitive technology like the telegraph. Do you know how to do it? Could you make one?
No.
I couldn't either. I tell you what I can do.
We can fold paper airplanes.
Yeah.
And write notes and throw them at each other.
Well, I got do you know how to make paper? I don't.
Yeah.
Do you know how to make thread? Me neither.
Well, everyone does.
Well, Chelsea, do you know how to make thread?
No.
Do you know how to make rubber?
Everyone does except for you.
Yeah,
Apparently.
they're just keeping it for me.
Yeah.
This is what I know how to do, guys. This is how pathetic I am. Okay, I do know how to garden. I don't know how to make metal. Now,
Yeah,
if
the discovery of metal is fascinating to me.
you know, I think it must have been an accident.
Yeah, it had
because
to be, right?
You heat up rocks, and the rocks won't burn,
well, I
and
mean,
the metal melts and drips.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I guess like stone quarries have been around for
somehow it was an accident.
We discovered this material in the rock that's stronger than the rock around it.
Yeah, the Native American.
Well, how do we use it?
Mm-hmm. This is what I know how to do. I know how to use flint and shape it into a blade. I know that if I sharpen a stick and then I burn it and sharpen it, it'll stay sharper longer.
I know how to make a wooden knife out of a metal knife.
I can make fire without an outside source. Now, a buddy of mine, Mr. Fenton, he said that you can use a 9-volt battery and still wool, and that will cause a fire. I'm curious to try that.
We should try that.
Yeah. I know how to filter water. I know how to purify water. I know that if you have polluted water, and it's not chemically polluted, but if it's just dirty, nasty water, that if you boil it and collect the steam that comes out,
I refuse. Like,
clear water.
And I imagine a life and death situation. I don't have much of a choice, but in today's society, I don't think I'd be willing to try that out.
To boil water?
Like from disgusting water?
Yeah.
No.
Like pond water? No, it's steam. Like everything. Because
maybe pond water, but like rainwater that's been sitting in a small hole for a month.
Oh no, that'd be fine because if you boil it, it kills everything in it.
I understand.
Yeah.
I don't.
See, for this podcast, I wanted us to boil our own piss and drink
I'm not willing to do that.
Would it kill brain-eating amoebas?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, brain-eating amoeba would die because the temperature that you have to raise it to for water to boil would kill everything in it, and the water will boil out faster than chemicals. So the steam, if you just put something over it, kind of like moonshine does. Say like you put a pot, and you got to have a funnel and a hose coming off the funnel with a little bit of a gap. And the steam will come up and go into the funnel, and it'll put it in that tube, and it'll condense, and it'll start dripping on the other side.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know how to make a. I know how to dig.
Just run it through your sock.
Like if you're ever in the woods and you need water, if you find some place
we have those straws.
Yeah, but if say there's not a water source, but if you find like lots of green and lots of ferns and lots of stuff like that, if you just dig, you won't have to dig very far. Water will start to pool.
Really?
Yeah, and you can even filter out dirt and stuff with a T-shirt, but you won't be able to filter out organisms. So this is stuff that I'm telling you, if an event like what Robert Schoch's talking about, or even like a Carrington event, which happened in 1859, happened today, there's going to be immediate fighting. That I always kid my Second Amendment guns, my Second Amendment friends. Yeah, because they're like, well, I need all my guns for all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I always put it to it this way because I'm not a historian, but I know a lot about military history. I'm like, all of us with our clip-fed guns and rifles and everything, we couldn't dislodge one World War I battalion from over 100 years ago.
But man, we would
they would
give it
kick
a
our
try.
ass. They would be shooting 305 millimeter shells at us.
Yeah.
And they would be good at hitting us. Well, they would have machine guns and sweeping locks of fires and have master marksmen, especially if we were going against 1914 British, which were the best snipers at the time. With all our guns, and all these guys are fat.
Yeah.
You really think you're going to go up against U.S. Army Rangers?
I mean, that's the thing with like local police force. I don't know about like
disgusting fat guy with diabetes thinks he's going to fight the government.
Like local police forces are the same way. Like I'm not sure about the inner city, but in more urban areas, like the police force, they're old fat men. And,
So anyway, we'll wrap it up. The Carrington Event. Solar mass ejection that disrupted telegraph and the primitive technology we had at the time in 1859 could happen today, and it is a fact. Most technology is not shielded. That is a fact. The transformers on our poles, especially in the Mid-America and the Heartland, they're not shielded.
No.
It could cause massive wildfires. It could cause massive lightning strikes that solar storms like we saw in the images. That were all over the world. So that means all over the world at the same time they were seeing that massive lightning in the atmosphere. That would cause massive uncontrollable wildfires. Even with our technology, we wouldn't be able to put it out.
And it would drive people to riot.
And it would hit our satellites first. But I would imagine they'd be shielded. At least I hope they are. I don't know if
satellites in space. That'd be interesting to look up.
So if you want some interesting stuff to look up a Carrington Event.
Well, this has been the Roundtable Free Speech Podcast. Thank you for listening. Power to the people.
Word.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Thank you for listening or watching our podcast. For more information and to stay up to date, please like and follow our Facebook page at Roundtable Free Speech Podcast.